So okay, here the first thing we are going to do is to create index.html. Then inside the HTML we are going to create some basic templates in order to assist us just to continue or do whatever, but most of the thing that we are going to do is going to actually be based on CSS, because it is only the styling which make all that thing look juicy though. Here's good. Yep, let's name our project. I choose to give it this weird name. You can name it anything, there's no problem, because after all, what, you're creating your own browser. It's not a kind of thing like maybe you're cloning Google or something. So yeah, so let's then our source is gonna be index.js. we're going to have some JavaScript in though, because that is what always make it interactive and lovely at the same time. So let's just put some body and see how it's gonna look like. Then let's try to open. Let's just go with live server. If you don't have live server, by the way, you can come here in extensions, here, direct in extension, then just search it here, live server, and you will get it. Then just install it from there, then boom, you are ready to go. It is here. Mine already, I have it. That's why it is showing like this. If you don't have it, then you'll have option to download it, to install it, so to speak. Okay, with this said, I'm quite sure they've opened for us. Yeah, here now we can see our work and what we are doing as well. So let's get started. I'm going to base mostly on browser, the UI, but you can feel free like to change the flexibility and everything. Don't just depend on one side, you know. So the first thing we're going to do is to create a div with class container, so that if we want to fix everything in the screen for once, we'll just use it, just like if we're using body or something. Despite the fact we are going to use body, but yeah, this is really important when you're working with things which need scalability in the screen. You need to make sure everything, you have your own container. Then after this you come to content and stuff, because if you just start direct with content or maybe something of that kind, there's a high chance when you're working on the styling, then you'll be searching for like some sort of wrapping div or maybe something of that kind, which will sometimes just be a little bit tedious when you type text. Yep, that is it. I'll just give it a name of input, no problem, and the ID of input field, yeah, that is that. Then going down, now we have the ID of input button, and at the same time we have the ID of input field. So if we save the change, you will see something here. The reason our button appears like this is because we wrote nothing here, nothing completely. Like for example, if you write something like such, then you save it, boom, the button appears here as such. But one thing we need to do though is that the content must include everything, but when it comes to the search itself, we need to wrap it inside another div. Okay, and that div is going to have a class called input box. All of them we are going to see like that one box which contain all the inputs inside, just once, without like having this kind of like things the other side or the other side to be done. So that also at the same time make things easy. Now like this, we have all of them at the same place. Then we'll come up here, then we'll create the h1, which is having the title. So by the way, if you don't want to use this weird name, it is not mandatory. You can change it to anything you want. So down here also, let's create, let me say div with 2 spans inside. I guess that would look better. Let's create a div with class. Let's call this class description or something, just descript, something of that kind. Then inside that class, let's create a span. Okay, let's create a span tag, and inside that span tag we are going to write something like search this name. Okay, then another span. Sorry, the reason I'm typing everything out is because I want you to follow the same. Don't want this thing of like you copying and pasting something, because if you're a beginner and you're trying to learn something, you need to make sure you get your hands dirty with coding, because otherwise all the things you're copying and all this, they will not remain in your mind. But when you write something with your own hands, it'll become easy for you to remember, you know. Then here let's say something like check the recent search, something of that kind. Yeah, and if I save it now, boom, you see that now here disappears, this one, everything here. So let's go to the juicy part now, which is to style it now. So let's call our CSS file or cascading styling file as style. css, just like this without much headache. Then we'll come here up in the top here and try to do something a little bit cool here. Link it up here, just come and link CSS, then it links direct to that specific location. If you follow this, it will bring you here immediately. That is to show you that like you have that exact part which is actually needed. So first let's reset our CSS by saying asterisk, then we say Easter, then we say margin 0. We are going to have padding of 0 also at the same time. Then we are going to have box sizing of border box, box sizing of border box. And if you are asking how comes I can change all this text within the screen for this very fast like this, I'm actually using some shortcuts. Most of it which I use, like if I made mistake, is Control Z. I think many people out there know, so you're welcome to use it. Pretty much in the world of programming, there are many things that you're going to learn within short period of time. So I mostly like, when I'm dealing with this, I like using splitting screen to 2 because I wanted to see the specific element I'm dealing with, and at the same time, like how can I reference it in the CSS so that I can be able to style it. It's really important. So here, let's go first with the body. Okay, but to show you exactly what is going on, I need to open the screen large so that you will see, and at the same time try to enlarge it in somehow. I think you're seeing it clear now, like here. Okay, first let me go back a little bit. Yeah, here, save it. Okay, let's open it again just to make sure that we are at the same pace with all this large screen. Here we are justifying the contents like all in the middle, but I prefer like we bring this display up completely here. Okay, we are displaying all the contents flex, then we're justifying them to the center, then we align them at the same time to the center, which is almost both the same command. I just leave them because I wanted to. Then we change the font family to this font family. You can choose any other font family, no problem. Then we give it a height of 100 VH, which simply means like 100 view height. 100 view height, when we come to this to browser sizing, or maybe let me say screen sizing, which at most we call windows, is from here up to down here, up to down here. Here is actually the 100 VH that we're talking about. Then the background is sort of background. I think you saw something about it the time I like referred to it in the beginning of the video. So when we save this, we'll see this. Have you seen? Like it changed our browser with a lot of things already, just with this one styling without even us bringing a lot of things inside. So fast forward, the second thing we're going to do is to make sure we put all the text inside here to be white, and that will not go and do it somewhere. We'll just start right from here. We'll just say text. Okay, sorry, I was thinking I was using Tailwind. Yeah, just say color white like this, then it turns all the text inside here to white except the text inside the button. Now let's go back to our normal way of styling. Yep, now we have all of them here in our front. So let's try to style each and everything accordingly. The first thing we're going to start dealing with here is going to be the input box itself, because it is really the important part of this entire thing, And let me say input box, it is a class, so we just say input box. Okay, then in the input box we need to make sure we have the width of, let me say, 500 pixels. Then we have the height of 35 pixels. Okay, then like we display all the content flex for now. Then we align items center. Then we give it a background color of white. You can call it white, or use asterisk FFF. Both can do the same thing, Now I don't know how big this is looking now, but yeah, this size is not bad. This size is actually good. I think it's only because we reduced the screen, and that's why we use pixels, so it can't like be able to resize itself onto this width. First, let's try something new. Let's try to use, instead of using pixels, let's try to use percentage. Like if I say 60%, how would it look like? Okay, that is good. Now if I say 80%, how will it look like? Whoa, what if I say 100%? Okay, expected it more than that. You know, one thing I like about percentages, because like percentage is scalable. If you say percent, then you can easily scale it within the screen without any sort of problem. You know, you don't need to really kill yourself with a lot of scalability problems, because the percentage will just scale itself. You know how balanced this thing is, like it is fixed in the screen, so you just do your thing, you know, everything just happens. So okay, without wasting time, let's try to do something else. Live about the size, don't worry, we'll come and add it up or maybe increase it to something else. We're going to come and experiment with it to make sure that we get that very nice size, which will like at least work well with our browser. So okay, that is that for that. Then let's come to input field. And input field, as you can remember, is id. So let's say input field. Here let's increase the size of input field. Let me say the width, if we say 100%, to be like up to the end of that very specific location, because 100% is trying to like take the whole allocated location for that specific element or maybe that specific component at that time. Then let's give it a height of, I suggest 30 pixels. Yep, that is that. Now it is looking somehow juicy already. You know, if we add to it something like border none, then you will see exactly why I am actually doing what I'm doing. The major reason is because you want to bring into existence that very like functionality of kind of having all those microphones and other stuff inside, you know, inside this input here. So that's why we're using input box to make sure that everything are inside the input box, including the input field. But if you see them, you'll just see them as one input box having all these things together. You'll not differentiate between like the input field and everything. It will remain like this is our tricks of developer, you know. Okay, now one thing that we need to really increase is the font size. At least if we can give something like 18 pixels of the font size, it will look really good, you know. Then now maybe I'll say we are done here. No, we are not done. We remain with button. So let's come and do something with input button. Okay, and we're just going to style it a little bit, because most of the styling will come out when we actually start using the very icons that we are going to use. So let me say here we're just going to add it some padding. Just going to add padding, like let's say padding top of 10 pixels, which I actually know is going to be too much. Let us say something 8 pixels. Okay, then right and left fast share. Let's see this. Yep, okay, let's give it 9. Then now you go, you know, despite the fact it looks a little bit bigger, but yeah, you got this now. Like that is that. But if you can remember from that very image I showed before, you know, of the complete browser we worked on last time, is like we are having some sort of like maroon color there, you know, background of this very button is maroon. Okay, and that, my friend, is the color. But one thing you realize is like we're having this weird white thing around this, you know. And secondly, this side here also is rounded and this side is not rounded. The text is supposed to be white because of the maroon color, and now it is looking things are just like, I don't know. Okay, let's get this thing into a shape. The first thing we are going to do is to make sure we remove the border. Okay, we remove the border by saying border none, the same instruction we used up there. Now it is calling for something like 9 to see if it is really dope. Nope, not really good. 10. Yep, now we are talking. Okay, the padding, which is now going to remain as a constant padding, is going to be 10 pixels. Then the border none. And one thing that we need to really focus on is our border radius is going to be the complex one, because we are going to use border radius. Then we are going to say top. Okay, we are dealing with top here, but it is in the right side, not in the left side. So we are going to use this one, right radians, like that. Then we will give it 5 pixels, 5 pixels, like that. And immediately you'll see the change here, you know, this in the change here, that immediate change there, like will just show us, yeah, this thing is really like trying to hold on with us and things like this. Then if we come back here, instead of killing ourselves with a lot, let's just like copy the same thing You can type it manual, no problem, because like, for learning purpose, it is actually the best way. But now the only thing we're going to change is to make sure our top have to be bottom, because we are going to put it down in this bottom size. And if we can realize one thing, our 10 pixel is not actually working good with this, because it is at the same size with this, and both of them like are trying to compute. You can see some white stuff appearing here. So let's just come here and let us say this 10 pixel is from top to bottom. Then let's give it a 12 pixel from right to left. If you want to like put all of them together as one, you're going to use some sort of like scale like this, because this make the scalability a little bit unique. Now instead of repeating the same thing 4 times, saying border top, this border bottom, border right, border left, you're just going to say like border top and bottom, which is going to be both 10 pixels, then border right and left 12 pixel. And CSS is fine with that, understands very well and knows, oh, this guy meant this, and that is one of the cool thing about CSS also, if I can talk about it in specific. So yeah, now here we are. We have one thing to do, and this is to make sure the text that we are dealing with down there, we put it as descript, which is a description here. We need to make sure we give it some padding or maybe space from the button here, so that they will have space. And one thing, if you can realize, is this weird black thing around when you just click on the, you can write text inside, but the problem now is this black thing happening here. I don't know what's the name. I will introduce the name for you later, but for now, let's try to adjust that very text under there, our mini buttons. In other way, even instead of us calling it description, why don't we just call it mini button? Yeah, it sounds a little bit cool when we call it mini button than calling it like description, because it is actually not describing anything there. It is a button showing you somewhere to have another command. Okay, let's say mini button here, btn, like that. Then let's give it like, let me say margin top. Let's give it a margin top of 12 pixel. I actually like 12 pixels sometimes, but I don't know. If we give it a margin top of 18 pixel, it will look good. I don't know. And about this, okay, this whole thing will actually come back and adjust the size and all this. But imagine this is your screen size and this is how it appears, so you won't really like complain much about it, because after all, so the screen is small, then you have to just have some sort of small kind of looking, let me say, input. So yeah, that is that. If you can notice, even like the distance here between the other button and the other button is too limited, but we'll come and adjust it later. This is like, we are not going to adjust it just once like that, but yeah, we'll adjust it. Let's come and select the span tag in order for us to do all this magic now. And the span tag now will now give both sides a different margin. Like if we say margin, instead of saying margin top, we're going to just say margin, because we want to give it a top, a right, left, and everything. Because if you can see from the distance of the input box, like the input box is a little bit closer to the text, so we want to make that to be different a little bit. So let's give it a distance of, let me say, 10 pixel top to bottom. Okay, then right to left, let me say 5 pixel, because both 5 pixels are going to contribute to the same, so like that. So one thing we need to also add is we need a background. Okay, we need a background color, and that background color is going to be some random color for me to choose. I'll just go with white, and if we just say white like that, boom, I know you're already terrified right now. But one thing we're going to do is to make sure we'll add some opacity, and thanks to VS Code, it gives you ability like to see through all what you're working on, and at the same time you can have this kind of cool thing to use the RGBs, RGBAs, and A is actually the opacity part, red, green, blue. So if you really understand basic CSS about that, it will save you a lot. Now you see we have this like transparent looking background, which at least can expose our text. Now one thing we need to do though is that we actually need to give it some padding, because how can we just put a border completely in the text to make it look so somehow weird like that? Okay, let's give it that padding that will make it look sweet, let's just say padding up and down of 10 pixels. That will look good with it. Then right and left 12 pixels. That will also look good in the other side. Boom, very big one, right? Okay, let's change it then. If we have 5 the other side, okay, then at least 10 the other side. Yeah, now it is coming handy now. But one thing we realize is that we need some border radiance in order to get that cool feature looking, you know, that very juicy and nice looking. We need border radiance. Now like this, yeah, you're all set and ready to go. Then one thing maybe I'll do is that, because we are not going to always use the same size of a screen, so let me say something like at media screen between this, which is gonna be like template. By the way, I want to change one thing and one thing only, and that is gonna be this. You may probably be asking, what the hell am I changing from here? One thing I want to change from here, okay, is the font size. At most, maybe suppose I will choose to put both of them like in different line when it reaches to this part of the screen, but let's try the font line and see how font size and see how it looks when it reaches to this very screen size. Because if you can see from this very whatever, this is the last screen hit, you know, and if you go like this, things start getting bigger, and if you go like this, things are supposed to start getting smaller, and the thing is all from here. And instead of saying min, okay, let's say max, just like that. Now the features are here for this very specific text, you know. So also for the also, let me say, for the small screens, we prefer this size, no problem. But for the large screens, we are going to have something different. Okay, now let's come to this weird thing and remove it out from here. So input box, okay, input field. Now this thing is called outline. What you are seeing always in your screen is called outline. If you set it to none and you come and click here, boom, nothing is there anymore. Okay, that just saved you from all the headache you have been worried about yourself, worrying a lot of things. Now you are free. Okay, let's now style our h1. Our h1, by the way, if we say h1, we mean actually this one here. Okay, so now in our h1, let's try to just put something simple like text, align center, and see how it looks. Boom, it is in the center now. So let's give it like margin button, which I suggest supposed to be given by both. Margin button from that one, margin button from that one. But this margin is gonna be like the big one, you know. Margin button, maybe let me say 30 pixels, just to make it look a little bit like futuristic kind of thing. Yeah, now that is that. We are almost there, you know. You are really starting to see the, you know, the juicy looking good part of the browser. Imagine this, you are opening like this in your phone or maybe whatever kind of device you're using. So let's come and do some small additions here, because here we use percentage. We have to use fixed width. How would it look like apart from percentage? Then let's give it some fixed width here. Let me say 500 as I used to. Boom, it opens up to there. But one thing we realize is that it is not scalable. You know, if we're using that width, then it is not scalable. It become like this kind of fixed sheet. And despite the fact it is big and all this, it should our request and stuff. But yeah, we can scale it. For now, we can, like, if we are closing the screen, opening the screen, it is unscalable. But we can fix that through this. Okay, through this. We'll just come down here, and what is the name there? Then we use that specific name here. Name. Actually, this is the basics of what they are called responsive design. You know, if you want to design something which responds with any screen, then yeah, this is the basic part of it. Then let's just say input box. Because we are dealing with input box, the only thing we need to do is to make sure the width is 100%, and if we save, boom, it brought us back. And if we open the screen beyond that, the screen will open also beyond that, you know. If we open the screen beyond that, the screen will also open beyond that. And if we open the screen below, it will also open below. And one thing we need to really like put clear is to make sure all the text are centered spite-wise, so that like this and this will always be in center despite whatever situation, whatever location and everything they are passing through. So let's just say text. Yep, like that. And when we are scaling it around, I guess it will be better. Yeah, like this. Now it is good, it is not bad. Now it is scaling itself easily with the screen and everything. Now after putting all this, still we have one problem, and this problem is the distance. When this and this distance, now we are going to put it in here. Okay, now let's come to our input box and say, sorry, this is supposed to be margin. Yeah, and say margin bottom like this. Okay, let's push it a little bit downward. You can even go up to 20 pixels. All I hope happen is let it be scalable, and that is that. Okay, now let's come and finish the other parts, because now we are almost done. The only thing we need to make sure we have now is to make sure we have the icons in place, and at the same time try to fix all this kind of thing. So the thing is, first let's come here and type in your browser font awesome icons. I will go first with font awesome icon CDN. I'm actually using something called grappers. If you see here, there's something called grappers here. It actually saved a lot. If you're a developer, this is one of the tools that you will choose to put it in your Chrome extension, because it is one heck of a nice extension ever. This is the extension called grepper. This extension, it helps you like to assess people's solutions to the same problem that you're facing whenever you checked in the internet. And at the same time, if you checked in the internet and they didn't have it in the grepper's extension, then if you found it, and you can just add it to the grepper extension. Next time you come to look for the same problem, you don't need to go over internet to look for it from Stack Overflow, maybe from where, because you have the solution already. Because at most in programming, we face the same challenge and the same challenge again. And if we didn't like master that thing already in mind, then there's a very high chance of you going back to search for the same solution again. Now let's go and check our icon. By the way, I need to open the screen to make sure you see everything happening here. Sorry if you have been struggling. Okay, now let's close our CSS for a while. Now let's get back to HTML for a while. Here is our input box, and all the icons we're going to get is going to be down inside the input box here, both side here, and that one is going to be inside the button is here inside the button here. So here, instead of saying CDN, let's just get it like this, font icon and font awesome icons. Then we come here to the icons. They are actually free though. If I'm dealing with things like React or maybe other different programming tech, then there's high chance I will use hero icon, but with this now, I prefer using this. So yeah, they have a lot of icons here that you can use for free, and some of them are most of the icons you see every day. Here, the first one we need is the search. The first icon we need here is a search icon, and from the search icon we will just go with this. We're just going to grab this very specific, just if it just illustrated like this and you click, then it will just copy for you the entire snippet, which is quite good. I like it. So let's come here and try to put it here inside our search. Instead of search, we need this very thing. Okay, instead of saying this, we can do something like this, and it will pretty much work. That is like, we can say FA, okay, then you write search like this. I guess that will work. Then for this is actually the search icon, but at the same time you can be able to use the font icon itself decide there to get all of this. Then you'll come forward here. Instead of killing yourself with a lot, just come here and say I, then say class here, then FA, then let's have some microphone here. Okay, that good looking microphone like that. Now you're pretty much done, not much headache needed. That is that. Now let's come and see what we just did. Okay, you see now this icon is here, and the microphone pretty much will be somewhere here. No worries about much, maybe because of the color or stuff. So yeah, we'll pretty much give it something different. FA microphone, yeah, that is that. So let's get started with the styling, guys. Now up to this extent, let's come and style this very two things we just added. This one, okay, we are going to use the class FA microphone in order to style the microphone. Then for this one, we are going to use the class FA search, something of that kind. Then it will be easy for us to search, to style it and make sure it look top. Okay, let's start with the microphone. Okay, let's say input box. This is a cool CSS trick you will really know, because this is like trying to point to the child element, and if there's no another child element having this name, my friend, this style will not be applied. So the child element is having a class called FA, okay, microphone, something of that kind. Now here, first thing first, color, we need a black color, my friend. So instead of putting it completely black, why don't we do it something somehow, okay? Despite the fact we are going to go with something like this, but we'll just come and click on this color, then we'll choose exactly what we want, you know, like there, not completely to be black, but at least in the middle. Now if we save this, let's come and see if it is really, yeah, it applied there, you know, like sort of not black, not white at the same time, not red at the same time. Ooh, I like it. Now let's give it a padding. Okay, if you can see specific from there, we just put everything in the center, so there's no need for us to have a padding top and bottom. Nope. We're going to have the padding right and left, but top and bottom we just put it to 0 pixel. Then right and left, at least we'll give it something like 10 pixels, which I think is not bad for now. And let's check it out. Yeah, that is that. Now you have some juicy, nice looking kind of thing, you know. Then maybe we can add the font size. I don't know, let's first try something like 18. I really like this number 18 at most, and I love it that we got to experiment everything from scratch instead of like using the other first project as a reference. We're just writing everything from scratch on our own, and it makes everything understandable, you know, like it becomes easy for us to fix things. Yeah, 18 is very, very good. So let's just use the same procedure. Okay, the same procedure on the other icon, which in our case is a search icon. Okay, now .fa search icon, search. Okay, that is that. Color the same, padding maybe more. Okay, but I don't think even we need padding though. Okay, we don't need padding in your case. Padding is not needed. Then check it out. Check it out. That is that. Now you are up and running. It's nice looking thing. Okay, one thing maybe we are going to increase here is to make sure we have some font weight, and at the same time we change the size a little bit from that very 18 to something else, so that to look a little bit futuristic, you know. We want to make something looking futuristic. So okay, down back to our code. Okay, let's change the font size at least something like 20. Maybe that will look better. Then let's change the font width. I really like 700. Let's change the font width to 700. I really like 700. If it is not looking good, then we'll change it to anything we want. What's it looking like? The style is not applying itself. What is going on? Okay. Yeah, we actually put this thing as an immediate child, but it isn't. You know, if we remove this, okay, just like that, and save it, now we're going to see a bunch of things happening. You see that? Okay, now come back to our 18. Said 80. Go away, my friend. Come back to our 18. Okay, the font weight the same, but this color is just gross because that place is not that type, so it becomes very hard. And instead of even using it this way, why don't we just leave it, because it is by default of that color anyway, you know, just give it some two stuffs. Yeah, but one thing we got to realize is that now we have a little bit bigger sort of like button compared to our old button. Then we need to come down to button. Now where the heck is our button? Is here. Okay, we give it some padding top and bottom of 10. Then let's reduce this boy to 9 and see how it is gonna look like here. Yep, it's not bad. That's cool. But one thing is this 10 is still too small for me, you know, like very small sort of thing. And this font size is also weird. We need to increase this font size to make sure it looks dope, right? So let's get into it. First things first, we need the distance. okay, from the mini button to have like this sort of top and bottom distance, which is really good. Okay, here if we put that, then it will include top and bottom, right and left, but that is not our plan. Okay, top and bottom, right and left, and that is not our plan. Right and left, we're just going to leave it 0 pixel. Okay, then let's come and check our theme. We run it. I don't know. Okay, no problem, we'll handle the rest. So yeah, pretty much that is that. Now let's make sure the button, the mini button itself, is sort of like looking like a clickable thing, and that will only come when we style it direct here in the span. Okay, like if we come to the span here and try to put something like cursor, right, then say pointer like this, you'll notice something strange when we open, this kind of like hand kind of thing, as if your hand is clicking on something. It started becoming a thing up here. Then I think we still have some problem with the button, which I prefer if it is like what we put it at 8.5 or 8.7, something in between there, to make sure the button look really sleek and really in place. Yeah, I guess this is not bad, right? So now let's come and adjust this text. Now this text time. Now let's come to h1. H1 is here. Then let's say and see how it finally looks. Okay, I think that looks a little bit better. Now our design is almost done, but we need some small stuff to handle this design completely to make sure that it works. Okay, so now let's first remove this boy. It's not really important for now. Let's go back to font. Awesome. Now we need some stuff. One of it is, I call it grip, but actually some sort of like this is what we need, something like this, good looking and stuff. Yep, it is actually the solid grip. It's looking great though. It's looking great. So let's just get this and let's use it in our program. Okay, here we'll come up, just in the content. Okay, here, up here, but up from the container. Then we come and put it here like this. It will remain up there, no worries about it. But after all, we're going to put all of them together like here and here. So let's check it out. Okay, we have this and this. Funny, look at how they both come and fix themselves, the location and everything. It's just funny. Okay, because of the general text white, then the thing is just like white all over the container. Okay, that aside, let's get direct to work. Okay, so here we have two things to deal with, but I rather deal first with this. Is the class we have here. Another one we use for experimenting. Then the other class is FA user cycle, something like that kind. Yeah, then boom, that is that. Then let's just give it the same sort of functionality, and that is all. Come down here and drop the shit. Now okay, these two are all two at the same time, just like we did with the top earlier before. Okay, but now we are going to remove top because we actually don't need it. Now with this, we can choose to put it anywhere we want. Let me say like here we have 98. Okay, and here we have like 95, a little distant, but yeah, meaningful one. Now if we open it, we can see here. Now instead of having this big gap, okay, let's make it 8 and 7, and it will still look good, yeah, somewhat somehow. The only difference is because like we didn't really give it something like margin, padding and stuff, so that's why. Now let's give it some font size of 18 pixels, both side up and down, and now let's reduce this a little bit to 96, and boom, we are there. So the other thing we need to do is to make sure we have top. Even if our top is 5 pixels, it will immediately go there. Okay, even if our top is 5 pixels, it will immediately go up there. So there is where we want it actually to go. That's why we are going to add another top here of 5 pixels. Okay, now we are all set. It is now located in its right place. But now, do you want to leave it black or white? With the color blend, let's just change it to white, and that will only be like, let's remove the colors we use instead of giving it another color, and just look at it. Which color will they prefer to use? White by default, like we started using white by default. Without your own choice, you use white. Okay, no problem. Let me say 20 pixels here and 20 pixels down. See the difference? If it is not, we go for 30 pixels up, 30 pixels down. Above all, we are just working on font, so it is not really some sort of like I want to try kind of thing. So now, yeah, that is that. So now, like, let's give it some margin, at least top and right, left somehow, because if we have some margin like 12px both side, top and right, left, it will make it look a little bit better. Let's add it also here, like margin. Okay, 12px, yeah. Yep. That is too far. Okay, that's not bad. At the same time, in spite of being far, all we need to do is change this to 96 and this to 94, and it will still look great. Sorry. So yep, that is that, and this is this. I hope, yeah, there your design is. Now let's make all of them look clickable, and that is not a big task, my friend, because just come over everything and put cursor pointer. You go down here, cursor pointer. Yep, that is that. Even including the microphone, cursor pointer. Yep. Then what else? Even the search also, cursor pointer. Okay, that is that. Now you have your full design with everything you need, So one thing we need to really add now, the JavaScript part, like you can now interact with your site and try to see things a little bit different, Okay, let's open our JavaScript. So let's create a JavaScript file and give it the name that we already include in the script, JS. If you didn't like link the script with me the time I was doing it earlier in the beginning of this video, so this is how you are going to do it. Now the first thing we need to deal with is, like, if you click that specific, let me say, if you click that input box and type something inside there, the moment you just click enter, let the whatever alert you about something, we're just trying to handle like the button clicks or something of that kind. So that we can do by saying document.getElement. We are going to use id here. That's why we're using get element by id. Then our id in this case is input field. Okay, then we'll say dot add event listener. We are trying to add some event listeners, and the event listener we are going to add here is some weird event listener called key. Okay, instead of key down, we are having key up. Okay, it's called key up. Then we'll have a function with event. That function is taking event. Then we are going to say if event, which you put there, dot key code is equal to, that will just save me a lot, is equal to 13. Okay, and that, by the way, is to illustrate that is the value of that key enter. If you have to go and check in your browser key code, you will see there's also a website for it, of which if you click on any key, then it will give you the number. You click on any key, then it will give you the number. You click on any key, it will give you the number. Just some sort of things like that, If it is like that, then we need to do this. Like, we are going to take document.getElement by id. Then the id we are going to use here is the id for the button, okay, which is actually in our case input button. Then we are just trying to say, like, if the key code is equal to 13, which means if you click on the enter there in that specific location, which is in the input box, then let it trigger a click function. That is all. No much headache, nothing. Now come down here. Let's say, like, we need to create a function called search. Okay, I'm using ES6. Even in other words also we can use this, like just search, then we say function, like that. Okay, now like that, the only thing we gotta do here is to make sure that we write some sort of thing which is gonna happen. Like, what do you want to happen? We need something to happen, and that thing is like for it to alert. Okay, for it to alert in our screen that it is searching. that is actually the kind of activity you want that thing to do. Searching just like that, not even to do something much. Then because like we don't need this thing, like you type something in the screen and it remain there, so we need also something to happen whenever we click that. Like if we click it and when it alert and we like cancel, or maybe we said okay to that alert, then we need the screen to be clean. And to do that, dot value, now we're just going to set the value to the empty string, something of that kind, and there you are all set up. Now the thing that we need to really do is come to our button here, okay, then add another thing like on click, run this function search. That is all. Now let's go back and check how it will work with us in this site. Okay, like imagine we are searching for something, then we click here. Oh, okay, let's first go back and check what is the problem. Okay, the input here is not right. We are supposed to put input, not just what we are, like that input field. Okay, then here at the same time also we are having some problem. Input, put input. Okay, here we're using input box, input field, right? Yeah, that is that. We're using input box, input field, input button. Okay, great. Now I think we are set than ever. Okay, if that is that, then let's go back. And there's one thing I think that we need to handle. Yep, either prevent default here in this. So it looked pretty much good now. So let's go and check it and see if it will work as expected. I hope so, and I know so. Let's go. Okay, yeah, let me just check something crazy weird. Yep, that is that. Our code is working. Damn, everything just goes up, you know. Despite the fact all these things are not working now, but yeah, in the future tutorials I will come up with the entire backend part of this very design. Then you'll have opportunity now to like navigate through the hard part of the JavaScript and all this, so that like you'll at least have a full understanding of how it look like to work with things like browser, and at the same time not only browser, it will increase your, let me say, designing skill, and at the same time, because JavaScript is involved, if you're someone who want to like specialize in web-based kind of stuff, so it will like be easy for you to illustrate things through. So yeah, I'm quite sure you find this very piece of tutorial helpful. Don't forget to smash up the like button and subscribe. And one reminder though, the code is in the description below. Don't go away. If you got stuck, just get the Git repository, check their stuffs out, then after this you get back to your work. Good luck. Peace.